Alrighty, everybody, welcome in to This is Chum Main, and today we're reading through Zechariah chapter 7, 8, and 9. So let's get into it. Justice and mercy, not fasting. Fasting. Chapter 7. In the 4th year of King Darius, the word of the Lord came to Zechariah on the 4th day of the 9th month, the month Kesavell, the people in the month of Kesavell, the people of Bethel had sent Shishera and Regem Melech together with their men to entreat the Lord by asking the priest of the house of the Lord Almighty and the prophets, should I mourn and fast in this month? A month. Should I mourn and fast in this month, the 5th month, as I have done for so many years? The word of the Lord Almighty came to me. Ask all the people of the land and the priests when you fasted and mourned. In the 5th and 7th month, for the past 70 years, was it really for me that you fasted? And when you were eating and drinking, were you not just feasting for yourself? Are these not the words of the Lord proclaimed through the earlier prophets when Jerusalem and its surrounding towns were at rest and prosperous, in Negev and the western foothills were settled? And the word of the Lord came again to Zechariah. This is what the Lord Almighty says: administer true justice, show mercy and compassion to one another. Do not oppress the widow of the fatherless, the foreigner, or the poor. Do not plot evil against each other. But they refused to pay attention. Stubbornly, they turned their back and covered their ears. They made their hearts as hard as flint, and would not listen to the law or to the words of the Lord that the Lord Almighty had sent by his Spirit through the earlier prophets. So the Lord Almighty was very angry. When I called, they did not listen. So when they called, I would not listen. Says the Lord Almighty, that scattered them with whirlwind among all the nations, where they were strangers. The land they left behind them was so desolate that no one traveled through it. This is how they made the pleasant land desolate. Alright, we're on to chapter 8. So, the Lord's just saying what was going on at the time. How he thought people weren't fasting for him, but he thought they were fasting for themselves, like they were doing it out of their selfish desires instead of what the Lord had wanted for them. And at the end, you know, it's explained that he was very angry with them because they weren't fasting for him. They were fasting for themselves. So, right. The Lord promises to bless Jerusalem. Chapter 8. The word of the Lord Almighty came to me. This is what the Lord Almighty says: I am very jealous of Zion. I am burning with jealousy for her. This is what the Lord says: I will return to Zion and dwell in Jerusalem. Then Jerusalem will be called the faithful city, and the mountain of the Lord Almighty will be called the holy mountain. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Once again, men and women of ripe old age will sit in the streets of Jerusalem, each of them with a hand because of their age. The city streets will be filled with the boys and girls playing there. This is what the Lord Almighty says. It may seem marvelous to the remnant of this people at that time, but will it seem marvelous to me, declares the Lord Almighty. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will save my people from the countries of the east and west. I will bring them back to live in Jerusalem. They will be my people, and I will be faithful and righteous to them as their God. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Now, hear these words. Let your hand be strong, so that the temple may be built. This is also what the prophet says, who were present when the foundation was laid for the house of the Lord Almighty. Before that time, there were no wages of people for hire for animals. No one could go about their business safely because of their enemies, since I had turned everyone against their neighbor. But now I will not deal with the remnant of this people as I did in the past, declares the Lord Almighty. The seed will grow well, the vine will yield its fruit, the ground will produce its crop, and the heaven will drop their dew. I will give all of these things as an inheritance to the remnant of this people, just as you, Judah and Israel, have been a curse among the nations. So I will save you, and you will be a blessing. Do not be afraid, but let your hand be strong. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Just as I determined to bring disaster on you and show you no pity, when your ancestors angered me, says the Lord Almighty, so now I have determined to do good again to Jerusalem and Judah. Do not be afraid. These are just things you are to do. Speak the truth to each other and render true and sound judgment in your court. Do not plot evil against each other, and do not love to swear falsely. I hate all this, declares the Lord. The word of the Lord Almighty came to me. This is what the Lord Almighty says. They fast of the 4th and 5th, 7th and 10th months will become joyful and glad occasions, and happy festivals of Judah. Therefore love, truth, and peace. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Many people and inhabitants of many cities will yet come, and inhabitants of one city will go to another and say, let us go at once to entreat the Lord and seek the Lord Almighty. I myself am going, and many people in powerful nations will come to Jerusalem to seek the Lord Almighty and to entreat him. This is what the Lord Almighty says. In those 10 days, people from all languages, all nations, will take firm hold of one Jew by the hem of his robe and say, let us go with you, because we have heard that God is with you. So, God's explaining what he's going to do in Jerusalem. He's gonna bless Jerusalem. And he wants to do that because people are begging to follow the Lord again. In case you haven't noticed, he was saying that one of these cities are gonna come to the other city and beg for them to have peace and let the Lord within it. So, yeah, he's doing all this destruction, but in return, he wants to reset everything. That's why all this destruction is about. The Lord loves to destroy, but he likes to create. In case you haven't noticed from the beginning, He destroyed and wiped out the human race that was there before us, before the flood. And then he recreated and allowed population from everybody to happen all over again. So, all right, all right. Chapter 9: Judgment of Israel's enemies. Chapter 9: A prophecy. The word of the Lord is against the land of Hardock. It will come to rest on Damascus, for the eyes of all people and all the tribes of Israel are on the Lord, and on Hamath too, which border on it, and on Tyre and Sidon. Though they are very skillful, Tyre has built herself a stronghold. She has heaped up silver like dust, the gold like the dirt of the streets. But the Lord will take away her possessions, and destroy her power on the sea, and she will be consumed by fire. Ashkelon will see it in fear. Gaza will wither in agony, and Ekron too, for hope will wither. Gaza will lose her king, and Ashkelon will be deserted. A mongrel people will occupy Ashdod, and will put an end to the pride of the Philistines. Will take the blood from their mouths, the forbidden food from between their teeth. Those who are left will belong to our God, and become a clan in Judah. Ekron will be like Jebusite, but I will encamp at my temple, to guard it against marauding forces. Never again will an oppressor overrun my people, for now I am keeping watch. So he's letting them know he's keeping an eye on all of them, because they're just, he's mad at them. He's mad at all those nations that were just mentioned. So, all right, the coming of Zion's king. Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion. Shout, daughter Jerusalem. See your kings come to you, righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, a foal of a donkey. I will take away the chariots from Ephraim, and the war horses from Jerusalem, and the battle bow will be broken. He will proclaim peace to the nations. His rule will extend from sea to sea, and from the river to the end of the earth. As for you, because of the blood of my covenant with you, I will free your prisoners from the waterless pit. Return to your fortress, you prisoners of hope. Even now I announce that I will restore twice as much to you. I will bend Judah as a bended bow, and I will fill it with Ephraim. I will rouse your sons, Zion, against your sons, Greece, and make you like a warrior sword. So he's gonna put kings in all those places. In fact, at the very beginning, he said the kings are gonna be different. They're not gonna be riding on chariots. They're gonna be riding on donkeys. And when you reference that back to anything, to me, that's a sound of a great king, a king who's willing to, like, not a king who doesn't want the highest needs of things, but a king who just wants, a king who deserves that respect because he's doing the hard work, the hard labor, especially riding on a donkey. That's a king right there that should and will deserve respect. And that's one thing I will say about things in real life, is that people don't respect, though, the working class as much as they should, but they'll respect and idolize a really, really famous person. And that's something I don't, for me, I don't naturally understand. I don't idolize famous people. I appreciate them, some of them. A lot of them I don't because of how they just, you know, they have everything handed to them because they're just well known. I, you know, if I was to become famous, I'd be like, people give me a bunch of stuff. I'd probably shove it back and be like, no, I don't want it because I don't deserve this. Because I worked hard, but yes, I don't deserve that, and that's just how I would take it. But the Lord will appear. Then the Lord will appear over them. His arrow will flash like lightning. The sovereign Lord will sound the trumpet. He will march in the storms of the south, and the Lord Almighty will shield them. They will destroy and overcome with sling stones. They will drink and roar as with wine, but they will be full like a bowl, used for sprinkling the corner of the altar. The Lord their God will save his people on that day. As a shepherd saves his flock, they will sparkle in his land. The jewels in the crown, who attract and beautiful they will be, grain will be, gain will make the young men thrive, and new wine in young women. So the Lord's saying he's going to appear in these places because, he wants that. He's ready to kind of show himself. Now, tomorrow, next video, I'm going to be reading 10, 11, and 12. And then we got 13 and 14. So we got 2 more days till we finish this book. So 2 more videos, actually. I say days because I film these each day. Um, but yes, as you can see, the Lord is going to be rebuilding some things after he's destroyed them, because that's what he does. He destroys, he rebuilds. He's like a human being. We destroy stuff, we rebuild. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand or realize, that, you know, something can get destroyed for you in one day. You can rebuild with what you have. Salvage the things that get destroyed in your life and rebuild with them, you know? And it just goes to show you that, anybody can rebuild stuff. You just have to, you can rebuild stuff by putting your faith in the Lord too. The Lord isn't afraid of helping you rebuild some portions of your life. For me, the Lord hasn't exactly rebuilt, the most beautiful tower ever, but He's built something for me, a foundation that I can grow upon. So, and even with YouTube here, you see the Lord's given me a great foundation to start on. You know, the Lord gives me so many like places to grow and prosper, as He may say. Like the Lord, you know, people planted a seed for me from the Lord, and I took it and I watered it, and it grew and prospered. And that's a foundation I can't get from anywhere else. So, if something is inspiring you today, just know that inspiration is coming from the Lord. If you're inspired, you know, the Lord's saying, it might be saying to you that it might be time to you to go and use that inspiration and grow and prosper. You know. Now, I'm not saying that everything's, promoted through the Lord. Some things are just promoted by people and are not very good for you. So, it depends on where you stand on it, and it depends on what it is. But ladies and gentlemen, if you feel like there's something you're supposed to be doing, something that's good, something that's within the Lord, that the Lord's not like making you want to go and sin, do things like me. I do this, and then I do the comic book, and those are the only two real things I have going for me right now. I have another channel which I don't put much of on it, but when I do, it grows a little, prospers. And the Lord made me lose a lot of things too. But I'm at a point now where I'm like, I understand now why he kind of put me where I am. It was for me to learn a lesson, for me to learn how to handle things a bit differently. And I try my best. I try my best, and some things are a bit difficult than others. There's some days I wake up and I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had more money coming to me, which I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do for side work. There's plenty of ideas rolling around in my head. I just don't know what I want to do yet. Um, and then also, um, let the Lord guide you, and He'll help grow whatever it is you want, a business, anything. If the Lord's involved in it, and the Lord blessed you with that thought, chances are that's the Lord telling you to go do that thing. So take this as an idea. If you're watching this, take it as an idea and run with it, because the Lord wants you to go and do that. He wants you to do something great. And if I inspire you, that's because I'm planting a seed into you that the Lord's telling you, hey, go create a YouTube channel. Go talk about the Lord. Go read the Bible on it. You know, we need more of that on YouTube anyway. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, hope you have a blessed day. And I'm gonna go check out this you know uh flea market here at some point today. I've been going there quite often when I'm off Sunday. So, and with that said, ladies and gentlemen, have a blessed day. Take it easy. And if you like this, hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you next time.